Why don't I play in these online tournaments? I will definitely answer that question. It's not that it's not worth it, though that is a factor. Only playing for $300 is kind of fucking crazy when it's like 100 plus people in the fucking pool every single time. It's the same people who are mad good too. But for the competition though, I'm tired of people preaching off idealisms and fucking morals and shit. I love competition. I'm not mad. I'm being completely blunt and honest. And people don't like when I'm blunt and honest. And we get fucking people who feel the need to be idealistic with me. When you can see it when you watch anyone else's stream, that they are not having a good time in these online tournaments. Yeah, they play. Sure, the competition is nice. But at the end of the day, you can't avoid the inevitable. If you haven't been noticing, CFN's been fucking up lately for a lot of people. And it hasn't been great. Players that you used to play with are now lagging and shit. And no one likes it. Also, Can Opener keeps running its tournaments on Tuesday, and every time they don't seem to realize that when they run their tournament at 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, that Steam maintenance is going to happen in between that. This is not to diss Yipes. I'm glad they're doing what they're doing, so please don't misconstrue what I'm saying and take it out of context. But it's just objective fact. If you're going to run a tournament, you have to be prepared for the Steam maintenance, because I heard Lee Chung over the mic was like, yo, we got to get Capcom on their shit because they keep fucking up the service for us, but they don't realize that it's Steam maintenance every Tuesday and they keep doing it. They'll start the tournament and mid-tournament, the servers cut off for all of it. It's not just them too. TNS does it as well. I could understand if it was like the first couple of tournaments, but it's been like 6 months now, bro. Y'all got to move when y'all do it. Maybe move it back or move it a little further. Since you know these players want to play till 1 in the fucking morning for these tournaments, why don't you move it past the fucking Steam maintenance? And don't give me the whole, well, it was daylight savings time, so they moved the hour back, right? It would be 6 p.m. where they do the maintenance, and it's 7 p.m. now where they do it, so we didn't know. But the truth is, it should be at like 8 p.m. I'll be honest with you, if you're going to run it on Tuesday. There's like no way you could run it any earlier than that unless you really ran the tournament like super early throughout the day. And you know that nobody's going to join the tournament at 8 p.m. Eastern because that's going to be too late. Then again, though, people join TNS and ICFC, so that's kind of weird. But I digress. That's one of the main issues I have with Tuesday tournaments. Even if it wasn't on Tuesday, I still wouldn't join tournaments, and this is another reason why. And before anybody in the chat wants to go, well, I'm going to get my ass kicked in a tournament, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. I've played in several tournaments for multiple games and have done well and have gotten money for it. More money than you probably got typing in a Twitch chat. I don't think I'm world class. I just know I'm better than the majority of the people that just type in my chat and want to say shit. If anybody feels different, they can definitely money match me because I've definitely done that shit and won. So I'm not going to deal with this. The only people that could probably step to me is obviously people who play in tournament that know what I'm going through. So I'm not dealing with this shit. So it's Punk versus Mike. I got to watch from Idom's perspective because Punk doesn't have his shit up. So this is Mike versus Punk, right? And you can't really see it in the spectating, but on Punk's side, and you can even see it a little bit here in the spectating. Actually, yeah. You can see it's laggy. You can see it's like super laggy. Yeah. At first, I was like, you might not see it in spectating, and then I saw like the fucking spike, and then I saw them just standing there. I was like, yeah, nah, it's definitely laggy. So yeah, basically it's lagging like crazy. You could see that. You can see it. So Punk getting fucked up, and it's not his fault, right? You could tell like he has to fight not only the player but the connection. Now, I don't think it's Mike's connection because I've seen Mike play other people within the same region. He's from West Canada. It's very hard for East and West Coast players to play each other because of the potential internet instability. However, I did play Filipino Champ within the first vanilla version of this game when the game just came out before patches. And it was fine until they patched it. Right, like I played Filipino Champ the first time he was on West Coast, and it was pretty good. And then I played him post patch when they added Rashid, and then it was really laggy. So they did something with CFN ever since that first major patch, and shit was getting laggy. So clearly here, Mike won the first game, And Punk don't like it because the game literally froze while he was in a checkmate scenario. So for example, if somebody can redeem it because soundboards are on,
I want my resources, I want
and it disconnected on him.
I want all my drive gauge, and I want his drive gauge to be depleted, because what the hell is that? This is basically checkmate.
Yeah, that little clip that I have that play, that's literally that it happened to do. So it happened to Punk here, but not in the sense that it disconnected, but the match was so unstable. You can see in the comments, Punk is like, yo, brother, that's not West Canada. You are literally freezing mid burnout. Like, come on, brother. Like, you know, like the connection was shit. They tested the match between him and Yipes because Yipes lives, you know, New York, right? He lives in New York. Mike lives in West Canada. So that's a little bit higher, but like it's still like far west that it has to travel. But even so, you can see like even in this spectating, you can see a little bit of lag. You can see the same instabilities can happen. So, you know, all things considered, when Yipes played and finished it up,
get it twisted with this spectrum, man.
What he said,
look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't feel it.
I don't feel the lag.
That's what she said.
I don't feel it. I don't feel the lag. So then Lee Chung plays, right? Just to test it, right? They're not really playing for nothing. They're just testing it. But my point is they played. They found out that there was no issue between Lee Chung and Mike, and there was no issue between Yipes and Mike. So then Mike and Punk played. Punk washed him game 2, right? Punk washed him game 2. There was still some instability, but he played through it, right? Then game 3, Mike wins, right? Mike wins off an optimal situation, right? I'm not going to break down the match or whatever, but all I'm saying is that if Mike didn't lag in the first game, the match would have probably played out differently. Not saying Mike would have lost the first game. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the interactions would have been different because of the situation where it did lag. So if we go back to the first match, which is what I'm mainly discussing here, I'm not talking about the result because, yeah, the result is Mike won, right? But I want to talk about why game states matter a lot in situations where the game gets unstable and there's issues with the connection. Game states matter. People love to just not think about like the writing on the wall, resources going on in the match, shit like that, you know? People love not to think about it. But look, you know, they played a match out. It's a little bit choppy, but so far so good. Nothing. I'm going to pause right when the lag instability actually happens and players just stop playing. So he has Mike in the corner, right? He has a life lead. Punk has a life lead. I don't know how much meter he has, but I'm pretty sure at some point one of these dudes is going to have one bar because it just started. But while Punk doesn't have the drive gauge disparity is honestly meaningless because Punk is on offense. So he's going to build it back. But the life lead is obviously in Punk's favor, right? A barre, I respect it because he doesn't want to get thrown. He does jab. And then you see the instability. You see the game slows down right after the knockdown, correct? It slows down. Right? Footsies. Back throw into the corner. Mike about to get burned out. He's burned out now, right? The game froze right here. You can see it. Right when he was burned out, the game froze. Look. Because he was going to do drive rush. And he was trying to go for EX spin knuckle to side switch and hit him to switch to the corner while still maintaining his meter. Because he has a little sliver of drive gauge left. You can see that. This wouldn't have worked, though, because, of course, like, you know, he's a little too far. If he had let the drive rush ride out a little bit more, then he would have got the actual side switch. But even if he was wanting to do this, the throw would beat it, right? He was just doing defensive grab. That's literally what it is. That's why he got back thrown. You see that? He was literally just doing back tech because he didn't know what the fuck was going on. Regardless, right? The game froze. They're back in the neutral. Mike now has the lead, but he's burned out. And Punk does not have the lead, but he's not burned out, so he could still potentially make this first round count. But you see the game froze, and Mike is still playing it out, and Punk is like, what the fuck are you doing? It's laggy. It's fucking laggy. What the fuck are you doing? Like, he's still playing as if it's fine. You know? And so that's like the psychology behind it, right? That's like the whole situation of this first instance. And so psychologically, you're like, this motherfucker's playing as if it's not laggy. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know, that's initially what's going to go through your mind. And I'm 1000% sure he probably said that. He probably was like, what the fuck? Why is he playing as if there's no lag? Like it didn't just freeze when I went for the spin knuckle, right? My point is, there's the psychology factor and there's the situational factor, right? It was clear what Punk wanted to do to put the Mike back in the corner. But Mike would have won that interaction regardless because of how it was set up. Yet then you have the psychological factor of this dude is still playing in the lag. He's not giving a shit that it's laggy, right? So Punk is probably thinking that, and Mike is just like, I have to play this out. This is tournament, you know? So this is where idealism comes into play, and like, oh, do you just play it out? You're a competitor. This is what you have to fucking play through. You signed up for this. You knew what you was signing up for. Or I really wish we was playing offline. I really wish that we had stable environments to play our matches. Why are we forced to still play online? It's a free tournament. They're not risking nothing to play in it. It happens every week. There's always another one. You know, you have these back and forth arguments about this shit, right? At the end of the day, there's credits to both sides. And I do believe that if you sign up for a tournament that's online and free to play in, you must understand the risk that comes with it, which is the instability of net play. But there should be equal amounts of play offline where people can actually go and play for money and play and prove themselves, and it's a stable environment, because we know from experience with a lot of other games that online will change the meta or will change certain aspects of the game because of its instability. It happens in Grand Blue. It happened in Smash Bros. It happened in Sam Show. It happened. You could list any bit of games, bro. Grand Blue's probably the biggest one because it was delay based. So characters definitely played differently if you was playing online versus offline. That's a fact. Sam Show was delay based as well. Smash Ultimate. We're not even going to talk about the Sonic the Hedgehog shit that happened in COVID. You know, we could talk about rollback chip in fucking Strive. We could talk about so many different things where instability occurs within all these different levels of competition that people choose to sign up in. And I don't blame someone like Punk who takes this shit seriously. He's sponsored. He gets a paycheck off of it and he's contracted. I would be pissed if I'm playing and I'm giving my expertise and it's a fucked up environment. And that's why he tends to say a lot of shit on Twitter like, oh man, like fuck this goddamn tournament for not like having this shit stable. Why is it like this? You know, why the monitor is lagging shit? Because he just wants a better player environment for everybody. But at the same time, you know, the way he says it, people don't like it and they go off, and you know how Twitter is. Everybody wants to talk bullshit. But on the other spectrum, it's like Mike signed up, he played, he's just playing the match, he knows what is going to be laggy, you just have to fucking deal with it. And like nobody wins in this scenario. The only thing that can be done is to provide equal opportunity towards playing both online events and offline events. And the way it looks right now, if we go to Capcom Pro Tour, right, and we go to, and I'm going to keep bringing this up, man, you go to the schedule for it and you see how they have it set up, you can tell right off rip, right? Like all the events are online. All are online. The only thing that's offline are 3 premieres: Evo, the Singapore premiere, and the France premiere that all passed. So now all that shit is passed, right? Keep in mind, the France premiere was probably the worst one because nobody flew out for it because of the risk of bed bugs, and there was a storm that happened as well too. So nobody really went to the France premiere because of that. There was only like 200 plus people, and it was really, you know, it was still a good tournament in terms of like the overall competition. However, I think more people would have went if it wasn't for that reason. Singapore, well, if you didn't live in Japan or China or, you know, Asia in general, you was not going to this, right? Because it's just way too far. And if you wanted to go to it, you know, that's a 12, 13 hour flight. Shout out to Zaffarino. He flew all the way out there. I respect him for that. He also flew out all the way to France. I respect him because he flew out with fucking Dawson. So you already know he flew out with Dawson. He lost, but like that's insane. I would not do that. If I'm flying out to 12, 13-hour flights, you damn well know I should be playing Ken or Luke or JP. But I digress. The only actual tournament that any American could go to is Evo. That's the only offline premiere for CPT. The only one. And then everything else, the World Warrior events happen online. The qualifiers this is all these are each qualifier for each region, right? I'm still waiting to play in the US Canada East. This is the one I have to play. This is the last one all the way in January. I gotta wait till next year January to even attempt to qualify. Right? Because I tried to qualify at Evo. I got like top 200 out of 7,000 some odd players, remind you, and that was it. Everything else I couldn't even really do. If I didn't place in World Warrior, which requires you to have to play World Warrior in every single week, and if you did bad the first 3 weeks, you just are ass out of luck, out of points, because it's only the top 10 players of each region that move on to the regional finals. That's also online, by the way, right? So really, the only other offline event that you can go to is the last chance qualifier the day before the actual finals, which is, by the way, a 5 to 10 day like event, Capcom Cup 11, I believe. So I'm breaking this down for you to really understand, right, what people go through in order to compete at the highest level, and to just be like, yo, man, just play online, play every online tournament every single week, bro. Like, no problem. Understand the environment that we're playing in. It's unstable. CFN is unstable because of the updates that happen. I know a lot of other people don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it because I've noticed it, because I play for thousands of hours already to see it. I watch people stream and they complain all the time when it lags. And these are with people that play each other constantly because they're all high ranked. So they all know how each other like plays, and they know that they're not usually laggy. So it's clear something's up with the connections with CFN and not with the players, but no one wants to say it. The other thing too is there's not a lot of offline premieres and offline events that happen, especially for US, because we're so spread out, right? Like, because the US is such a large geographical place, there's too many players in the US, obviously, and it has to spread out the connections. And so that's a lot of data being transferred. And so it's understandable. Whereas if you lived in like Japan, which is where the game is built from, it's very clear they could all play with each other with like zero fucking lag. So that's why when you watch F Champ or Mike Ross play and they're streaming, they're from like Singapore or like Southeast Asia, and they get to play against all the big dogs, all the big cats. They get to play Shan and all those guys, and it's not laggy for them. So it's very clear to me that when you compare America and, the North American region with Japan, and then the rest of the world with Japan, it's very clear that the better region in Japan is able to play in more stable conditions online and have these events happen online. Like, they have their weekly tournaments. They have Street Fighter League online. They're able to run it online live and not pre-recorded. The real issue is that because they keep trying to force everything to be online globally, but not realize how damaging that is for regions like North America or Europe or other parts like Africa or whatever, like wherever you're at, that's not Japan. They don't realize that there's a reason the FGC grew from grassroots and we were all able to play in offline settings, because that was the most stable setting. Didn't matter how rich you were, how poor you were, how good your living conditions were, what if you had a stick or whatever, if you had a pad or whatever, how old you were. It didn't matter about any of that. You just walked into the arcade, or you walked in, you paid your fee, you put your quarter down, you played, and you played in tournament, and everything worked. Some days, a button would come loose or whatever the fuck, but nowadays in 2023, everything is usually stable except for the PS5 overheating every every once in a while. So in truth, right, if it's 2023 and we could all play offline, correct, why don't we do that? COVID. Nobody wants to say it. COVID. And it's not like COVID went away. COVID still is a thing. It's actually it's transmutating still. There's still new strains that happen. So it's not like people can ignore it. But that's one of the main reasons why offline events don't happen as much, is because COVID fucked a lot of this shit up. And so because of that, everything moved to online. The other thing too is that COVID fucked a lot of tournament organizers up in North America. What I mean by that is when they placed events for the year to reserve spots at hotels and other places and venues, right? Because COVID happened, they got fucked over. And so they had to pay fees and shit. And they were probably going to get fucked by like debt and whatnot because of it. That's why you saw a lot of crowdfunding for shit like April Annihilation that got canceled, or like other things that got canceled. And NCR, SCR, you know, like all these tournaments that you remember from back in the day. Final Round, April Annihilation, Canada Cup, NCR, SCR. What's another one? I don't even remember. There's so many tournaments that just don't. Final Round. There's so many tournaments that just do not happen anymore because either it's just too costly because of the damage from COVID towards tournament organizers' pockets, or it's just really difficult to run it knowing the state of COVID and how each region has to like live by the COVID guidelines. Like, you know, Japan, they have some COVID guidelines there. You know, there's other regions that have their different, you know, guidelines that they go by, flying in and out of the state, you know, making sure no one contracts it. There's just so many things that has changed because the world has changed so much that made it very, very difficult to run offline events the same way we used to. I want offline events, however, to come back because it's a necessary evil, despite how the world is, because this is the only way that you can prevent situations like this from occurring, where one dude is getting tight because it's laggy and the other dude isn't getting tight because they're just going to play it out and they don't give a fuck about the lag. So why am I not playing in online tournaments? I just told you a really detailed and critical breakdown as to why, but the TLDR, this. I don't want to deal with that, especially when there's $2 million on the line. I don't want to deal with that. I mean, I'm gonna have to deal with it as a competitor. That's why I'm gonna play in January. But I don't like my odds. I really don't like my odds because it's all online, and I hate that. I think a lot of fighting game players hate that. That's why you see Snake Eyes. He only really entered the CPT West qualifier. He didn't really go to any other tournament. You don't see anybody asking him why he don't enter online tournaments. Why you think? He just plays ranked, plays in the most important tournament, and that's it. There's no point. You know what Idom said a few days ago? I think he said it yesterday. He said, why would I fly out all the way to Singapore when there's nothing but Luke's, Ken's, and JP's, and the meta's all fucked up? And then on top of that, right, like, the chances of me being able to win in that bracket and win in online is the same. I'm fighting the same level of difficulty. One being the meta, the other being online. And both brackets are going to be stacked. So you would imagine like he would want to go play offline, but then obviously he plays Manon. The meta's differently. Like there's no winning. Because remember what I said before. Zaffarino flew out and he plays fucking Dawson and he lost. Who won CPT Singapore? And who won CPT France? I know it wasn't Dawson. I know it wasn't Cammy. It was Rashid. It was Gachikun. That character's pretty fucking good. I know it was Luke. That was Chris Wong. That character's arguably top 3 in the game. So you either fight the meta or you fight the online. The meta, you know, we're not going to get into that. It's clear everybody going to do what they got to do to win. You got to fucking adapt to that. That's unfortunate, but that's just the truth. Online, however, I can empathize clearly because a lot of the people in chat do not get it. If you actually play for money and you're going and you're traveling and spending thousands of dollars and you're sponsored, or even if you're not sponsored, you stream constantly, you do whatever it is surrounding this hobby that is at a competitively charged environment, you want the best stable environment possible. And if you don't get that with online, it's gonna make you mad. And that's just the truth of it. And nobody wants to put themselves in a competitively charged environment in unstable situations. Nobody wants to deal with that. The game itself is already unstable as it is, with all the bullshit like drive, rush, jab, and perfect parry every 3 seconds. Why would you want lag on top of that? But it's the competition, bro. I rest my case. It's up to y'all. If y'all think I'm crying like a little baby, I don't give a fuck. All I'm telling you is the truth. Shit that nobody else wants to say. And it's up to you whether or not you want to swallow that pill or not. And if you want to call me a crybaby, that's fucking fine. But I'm telling you what top players don't want to tell you. And that's just the honest truth. Anyway, back to me trying to fucking get more than fucking 1 MR. Because that's what's going to fucking happen.